Kevin Wall.
A momentous day in southern Nevada and across our state. The mask mandate has been lifted for students and teachers and staff in schools. That'll be tomorrow. Everybody else, it is immediately. It's the state of Nevada has been unmasked, and I'm so excited about it. A guy I'll bet you who's pretty excited as well, John Kovacs, the Republican candidate for Congress in CD3. He is the owner of construction companies in Nevada and on the East Coast, and he joins us in studio. John, first of all, thanks for coming in, and I got to ask you your reaction to what the governor did today.
Very long. Thank you for having me. To answer your question, it's about time. I think that's what everybody's saying. It's about time. Very long overdue, and essentially I think the rest of the population feels the same way, that he's doing what everybody thought probably should have been done much sooner. But it's done. No mask on me today.
You look good.
Yeah, no mask.
You got a nice set of teeth I didn't know you had.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a construction guy too. But yeah, so no mask. I think it's and more importantly, for the students in the schools, we mentioned this in previous sessions. Thank God they get to finally go to school in a normal way, because we talked about this. It really inhibits their ability to learn, their ability to develop, especially the younger children. So all of that is probably very much welcome news for the parents, and even the rest of the population as well. So it's a long time coming, but it's here. And thank God it's something that's going to hopefully stay with us, no mask, and we can move on with our lives.
I want to ask you a question that came up in the news conference with the governor today, and that is the whole issue of, was this politically based or scientific based? The governor swore up and down 1,000 times today that this is not political, it's science based. You believe him?
I believe that the governor was listening to what was going on and what was the advice that was being given to him by the federal government, which, unfortunately, that was political based. So, if you want to follow the dots, he was doing something. He was following guidelines that were essentially politically based. Because if you look at the federal government, they're still not really. They haven't relaxed it yet. I mean, it's coming, but it hasn't happened yet. And at this point, what are they waiting for? So, I mean, I think the onion peel's been revealed. The onion's been revealed to show that a lot of things with the masks have really been politically motivated and politically charged. Because it was very divisive. You had the Republicans thinking one way, Democrats thinking the other way, and they just kind of really went with it. So, and it didn't really have any beneficial effect, because people still still got sick, still got the virus with the mask, without the mask. It didn't really matter. So, in my opinion, I think the governor didn't really have the confidence in his own decisions. He was just following what was going on with the federal guidelines from the federal government. But the federal government totally. We talked about Fauci and all that. That was totally political.
I want to ask you though, because the one thing that I was, I'm pleased as punch that we're going to get rid of the masks, except at the airport and in hospitals and medical offices. The schools are going to make up their own mind of what they want to do. But more importantly, what about the vaccine mandates? And is it time to end the vaccine mandates? We've done it to the mask. What about the jab?
You know what? That's coming, and only because people are seeing that for what it is as well. I mean, how many people have gotten sick once, sick twice, and they say, oh, I've been got the first 2 shots. I have my booster. I'm still getting sick. I've still gotten it, and I think, and even in New York City, I think where they were really draconian. I think they're even relaxing the vaccine passports and all that. That's going to pretty much go away. Give us some time, but I think that'll go away too, because I think people are going to see this for what it is. Something that's going to be with us. It's not the smallpox. It's not polio. It's something that's going to be with us, something that unfortunately we're not going to be able to eradicate completely, and it's just going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. And as far as vaccines are concerned, the other side of the equation is the therapeutics that kind of go with that. They're there, but they're not highlighting that. They're not pushing that. So even the vaccine mandate has been somewhat politicized, because if you really, truly, honestly, really wanted to attack this issue, the issue, the disease, you do it from both ends. You do it from vaccines and you do it from the therapeutics. But to only push one over the other and forget the other even exists, that's been political. It's just like the masks has become political. So that I'm hoping, keeping my finger. The Supreme Court sided against OSHA and with the people when they made their ruling about earlier in January. And I think people are going to see that for what it is too. Like how many? Because next year when they keep getting boosters every single year, it's almost like the flu shot at that point.
Yeah.
So I think maybe not right away, but I think that's going to come. They have no choice there either.
We're talking about what happened today and the importance of it. John Kovacs running for Congress in CD3. I do want to ask you, though, as far as the jab, that a lot of people are saying we should have done away with vaccine passports and things like that long ago. People can't get in to see a Raiders game because they didn't get the jab. Is it time to finally do away with that?
Absolutely. They should have never had it to begin with. They should have never had that vaccine mandate thing to begin with, because the virus does not behave in the same way as the polio or some of the other things that we have actually eradicated through use of vaccines and things. And look at the hypocrisy too. I mean, if you look really what's going around you, how many people are coming over the southern border every single month? 200,000-300,000. No vaccine mandates for them. The truckers in Canada, they need a vaccine mandate to come off. Give me a break. That's just the hypocrisy knows no limits with that. And when you see that and some of the other things that are going on, you're like, it's nonsense. If they really meant it, the border would be shut to anybody. You treat the people coming across. Hey, under Title 42, they would say no vaccine, get the heck out of here. Asylum or no asylum, but they're not doing that. They're letting them all in. Nobody, and they're not even required to get a vaccine. I mean, if you were following it, even Jen Psaki said, well, these people aren't going to stay here long. No, they're going to be here for like 10, 20 years. You're not going to stay here long. So it's the hypocrisy reveals that even the vaccine has been politicized.
I want to ask you, because a lot of people for months, red state governors have been railing about these mandates, the mask mandate, the vaccine mandates, and all that. And now all of a sudden, it is the blue state governors that are giving in. At the end, there was like 9 states a couple of days ago. Then it was down to 6 states, and now it may be down to 3 states. Are you surprised that people have essentially thrown this back in Biden's face and the CDC's face and saying, we're going our own way?
Yeah, well, I think they see the writing on the wall come the midterms, and I think they're trying to clean themselves up to put themselves and some of their candidates in the best possible light. So they're doing away. They don't want that to be an issue, because it's certainly an issue now. So they're like, all right, let's get it. And it was led by New Jersey, and they were very draconian. New Jersey dropped it, and Illinois and Delaware and Connecticut. No, I don't, and I see the same thing happening with the vaccine things, closer and closer to the midterms, because they know they're going to get creamed in the midterms, and for that reason, they're trying to make their candidates look as positive as possible. They're going to try to take that off the table as a potential issue for the general election in 2022.
Democrats have been backpedaling on a number of issues. One of them is defunding the police. What do you make of that? I mean, it's gotten pretty obvious that the Dems are going to be trying to run away from that defund the police thing come November. Well,
but they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth. While they're saying that, they're literally not doing that. And defunding the police. I mean, look what just happened in California. They're going to lay off. And again, it ties into the vaccine. These people think the vaccine. They're going to lay them all off. Who are you laying off? 3,000 deputies, sheriff's deputies in Los Angeles County. So you got like 3,000 people up. Meanwhile, crime is spiking. And what do you think those people do on the weekend? They come here. So, I mean, you can't, you need to have consistent law enforcement everywhere, consistent public safety everywhere. And that's not, and if you look at, Cori Bush from Missouri, what did she say? I'm not backing away from defund the police. So, the politicos or the consultants are telling their people, hey, you got to back away. If it's a bad issue, you got to back away from it. But the Democrats are still kind of holding strong to it. They really don't want to see that go away, and it's really causing anarchy in our society. So it's something that we really need as Republicans need to get a handle on, and really fight back and fight against. Because if we don't, you're afraid to walk down. Look at we just heard over the break. A guy out of town. He's a football player in the Pro Bowl. He's in a fight. Like, what the hell what are you doing? So, I mean, if he knew people, he thinks he'd get away with it because they've been getting away with it time after time. If they knew, hey, I can't do this because they'll lock me up and throw away the key, maybe he wouldn't have been so fast to get into a fight when he's supposed to be playing football. So, I mean, it's everywhere. And unless we get a handle on it, we're not going to be able to escape it.
More coming up from John Kovacs, the Republican candidate for Congress in CD3. Fascinating guy. We'll find out what he thinks about what's going on in Washington, what we should be doing relative to defeating crime, because we got a crime wave that's going coast to coast, and right here, as John mentioned, right here in Southern Nevada. Stay where you are. More to do as we continue on AM 670 KMZQ. John Kovacs with us, Republican candidate for Congress in CD3. And all of us have been following all of the news on CNN. It's like all January 6th, all the time. And they're attempting to brand anybody who is a Republican as a supporter of insurrection. And I don't think anything could be further from the truth. I'm just curious what happens when you go to Washington next January, and maybe this January 6th thing is still there. Are you still going to let the Democrats brand every Republican as an insurrectionist?
Absolutely not. First of all, it's an improper use of the term. And they're doing that on purpose. Even only the Department of Justice or the DOJ could even bring charges of insurrection. And everybody on TV, every congressperson on the Democrat side is throwing that word around to the point where it doesn't even have the meaning it has. It's intended to have. And the reason is, like as you said, they're trying to paint everybody. So in the upcoming 2022 election, well, don't vote for everybody. They're all insurrectionists. And really, what they'd like to do is, if they could, they'd like that term to last into 2024, so they could, to kind of increase their odds. And that's really the game plan there. And it's what's going on now in Congress with the committee hearings and all that, totally farcical. And because they don't have any jurisdiction at all to bring somebody up on charges of insurrection. It's totally the DOJ. And and so far, of all the people that have been charged, trespassing, things like that, insurrection is really a movement that would have been violent to the point where you're storming the Capitol with weapons. Nobody had any weapons. The only person that shot that day was killed by a Capitol police officer. So, or shot by a Capitol police officer. So the insurrection term, inappropriately used. And, they're taking advantage of the fact that a lot of people who are in their audience really don't know, or not going to take the time to really go ahead and try to understand Title 18 of the U.S. Code and things like that. So if you're listening out there, educate yourself on that so you're not taken advantage of or manipulated in the future by these people that you hear on TV who really don't, all they know is what's in front of them on the teleprompter. So that's January 6th. We should be more important. The bigger date, honestly, forget about January 6th, is January 7th of this year. Why? That was the day they told you, hey, we're taking away 7.6% of your water allocation. And come next year, if things don't change, it goes to 8.3. Sooner or later, you're going to be living on a rock with no vegetation. That's what you should be worried about. Not the phoniness that's going on over Washington about January 6th. It's really about January 7th. That's the day you should be concerned about here.
You know what's interesting is that when people look at how the Democrats are governing, they are overstepping their bounds in so many ways with voting rights and Build Back Better and all these different from the Biden administration. Is it overstepping? Is that a good way of describing it?
It's overreach. That's the better way of describing it. And yes, that's what's going on. It's governmental overreach, and we're seeing it everywhere. We saw it here, and we saw it at the state level with the governor telling everybody to wear a mask. We see it. You're even seeing it in a workplace. You know, the Supreme Court struck down the vaccine, but the employers can now tell you to take a vaccine, or we're not going to hire you. What the hell? What? And prior to this whole thing, it was that your medical records were your own personal medical records. They were inaccessible to your employer, and now all that went away. So they've allowed it. It's overreach really at every level, from the upper government levels all the way down to lower government, and they've allowed it to permeate into the workplace, and all on account of what we currently see going on around us today.
I want to ask you, because it's on the TV. I haven't watched. I got to admit, I have not watched more than maybe 5 minutes of the Olympics, and that was the opening ceremonies. What about for you? The Beijing Olympics are such a farce, and the world is giving them the platform to promote Beijing and China. And
they want it that way. It's a little bit of history here on the on how they even got into the because there were Summer Olympics in 2008, Winter Olympics. Normally, a country doesn't get that, or a city doesn't get that. But a lot of the European countries that were, or a lot of European cities that were in the running, really pulled out on account of the cost. $51 billion to put up, to promote that, to build the Olympics for 2022. A lot of the European countries, and that would fall onto European citizens. Or like, I was in Germany actually at the time. I was skiing in Germany. I'm like, why? Because I was skiing in Salzburg in Munich. Like, we don't want the Olympics here. Too much money, and they're right. It's a ton of money. So and it's a burden on the population, especially if you're working. So no different on that, from that perspective. It's no different than it is anywhere else. But as far as China, it highlighting China in light of what's going on in Taiwan. I mean, it's hindsight's 2020. I mean, the decision to have the Olympics in China this year was made, in 2012 or something like that. But to highlight they're a host nation for the Olympics to promote world peace and things like that. And they're saber rattling in Taiwan, and they're stealing stuff from us, and they're military espionage and industrial espionage against this country, and what they're doing to the Uyghurs. So it certainly makes you question, and no wonder why nobody's watching, because everybody feels the same way. And you know what? Myself included. You're not the only one who's not paying attention to the Olympics. I'm not either.
I know there are folks out there that are looking for a candidate in CD3, and they like what you say. How can people reach out to you? What is it you need right now in your campaign?
In my campaign, I would like people to join our movement. Come to our website. We want people to donate, but we also want people to get the message out. We have a great Facebook page. I want people to bring your friends in, and because in 3 more months, come June, we're going to need your vote. So what I need in my campaign, I need your vote. And tell people about me. Share our page with your friends and things like that, and encourage them to vote for us come June.
John, safe travels as you campaign across CD3. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you coming in.
All right, thank you very much. Take care.
There you have it, John Kovacs, Republican candidate for Congress in CD3. Stay where you are. More to do as